The room went silent when Mr. Carter laughed out loud at the new guy's accent. It was during the Monday morning meeting, the one everyone dreaded. The team sat stiffly around the long glass table, coffee in hand, half listening as the newest employee, Raj, introduced a small idea to improve client communication. Raj spoke clearly, but his accent was thick, unmistakably foreign. He had barely finished his sentence when Carter burst into laughter. "Sorry, what was that?" Carter chuckled, squinting mockingly. "Could you say it again in English this time?" A few people laughed, nervously. Most didn't know what to do. Raj blinked. He didn't laugh, he didn't frown. He just nodded slightly and looked down at his notes. Silent. You could feel the discomfort crawling across the room. No one stood up for him. No one said a word, because when Mr. Carter mocked you, it was usually the end of your story at the company. But this time, it wasn't. This was just the beginning. And Mr. Carter had no idea who he was dealing with. The company was called Brightwave Marketing. It wasn't very old, but it was growing fast, really fast. Every month, new clients poured in, and the pressure to deliver results was constant. Brightwave's office buzzed with energy, but it was also tense. People worked long hours, chasing deadlines and fighting for promotions. It was a place where only the strongest survived. At the top of the food chain was Mr. Carter, the regional manager. He was a tall man with a booming voice and a sharp tongue. Everyone knew him. Some admired him for his success, others feared him for his harshness. Carter was proud, confident, sometimes too confident. He believed he was the smartest person in every room, and if you ever disagreed or made a mistake, he made sure you knew it. Employees learned quickly, don't make waves, don't stand out, because Carter never forgot, and he didn't forgive easily. He had a way of spotting weaknesses and making them public. If you were different or new, or quiet, you became an easy target. That's why when Raj joined Brightwave, most people kept their distance, not just because of his accent, or his quiet nature, but because they knew what happened to anyone who caught Carter's attention in the wrong way. The tension in the office was real, everyone was walking on eggshells. No one expected Raj to shake things up, least of all Mr. Carter. Raj was different from everyone else at Brightwave. He was quiet, almost too quiet. He never raised his voice or joined in on the office gossip. Instead, he sat at his desk neatly dressed, always in crisp shirts and polished shoes. His calm, gentle manner stood out in the loud, fast-moving office. His accent was thick, definitely South Asian, and when he spoke, it was slow and careful, as if choosing every word with precision. But no one really knew much about him. His job title was vague, and no one could say exactly what he did. Sometimes, it seemed like he was just watching and listening. He rarely spoke unless someone asked him a question directly. When he did, his answers were thoughtful, clear, and precise. He had a habit of taking detailed notes in a small notebook, jotting things down during meetings or conversations. Most people didn't approach him much. They whispered quietly behind his back, wondering what he was really doing there. Rumors spread, some said he was an intern, others guessed he was a temp, and a few thought he might be from HR, but no one was sure. What everyone was sure about was Mr. Carter's opinion. After the first week, Carter started making jokes about Raj's accent, calling him the foreigner who can't speak right. The whispers grew louder, and the atmosphere around Raj became colder. But Raj never seemed bothered. He just smiled politely and kept working. Even though he seemed small and quiet, something about Raj made people curious and uneasy. Because beneath that calm surface, there was something no one at Brightwave could see yet. It was a usual Monday morning. The team gathered in the conference room for the weekly meeting. Everyone was tired from the weekend, and the workload waiting for them. Raj sat quietly near the back, as always, listening closely. When it was his turn to speak, Raj stood up and cleared his throat softly. "I would like to suggest something that might improve how we communicate with our international clients," he began. His voice was calm and measured. "I notice some emails and proposals don't translate well across cultures. Sometimes the tone sounds too harsh or too casual, and that causes confusion. He paused for a moment. If we create a simple guide for tone and phrasing, tailored for different countries, we could avoid misunderstandings and increase client trust. The room was silent. It was a reasonable suggestion, but before Raj could explain more, Mr. Carter interrupted. Wait, Carter said loudly, leaning back in his chair with a smirk. Did you just say something about improve how we communicate? Raj, speak up, we can't hear you with that thick accent. He then exaggerated Raj's words, mocking the accent in a loud cartoonish way. I would like to suggest something, Carter repeated, stretching the words and making faces. A few people chuckled awkwardly. Some looked down at their notebooks. Others exchanged quick, uneasy glances. Raj smiled faintly, not angry or upset, just calm. He looked down at his notes again, then sat quietly. The room's atmosphere shifted. What should have been a simple business discussion turned uncomfortable. The laughter stopped, but the tension stayed. No one spoke up for Raj. The moment stretched out. Everyone felt it, the sting of unfairness, the weight of silence. But Raj said nothing. He let Carter's words hang in the air, like a shadow. Everyone knew Mr. Carter's power, and no one wanted to risk crossing him. What no one realized was that Raj wasn't just quiet because he was shy, he was quiet because he was waiting for the right moment. After the meeting, Mr. Carter couldn't stop talking about what had happened. In the break room, he bragged loudly to anyone who would listen. I put that guy in his place, Carter said with a smug grin. You know, the one with the alphabet soup accent. Thought he could come in here and talk fancy. Not on my watch. His words echoed through the office, carried by whispers and exchanged glances. Raj, meanwhile, kept to himself. He went back to his desk and quietly resumed his work, his face calm and unreadable. He didn't lash out. He didn't complain. He just kept doing his job. Some employees began to notice the silence around Raj was not weakness. It was something else. A few felt uncomfortable with how Carter had handled the situation. They saw the mockery for what it was, cruel and unnecessary. But no one spoke up. Fear of Carter was strong. What surprised Carter most wasn't Raj's silence, though. It was how calm he was. Carter had expected Raj to get angry, to defend himself, maybe even quit. Instead, Raj's calmness unsettled him. It was like staring into a quiet storm. And Carter didn't like storms he couldn't control. But Raj was patient. He was watching, learning, waiting for the right time to make his move. The week after the meeting, something started to change at Brightwave. Raj quietly began helping different teams with their work. He noticed the emails going out to clients in Europe and Asia often missed the mark. Sometimes, the words sounded harsh or confusing. Other times the jokes didn't land well. Raj stepped in, offering simple fixes. He rewrote sentences to sound friendlier. He explained cultural differences that mattered. He helped teams find the right tone for each client. No announcements, no fanfare, just small, steady changes. Slowly the results showed. Emails started getting better responses. Meetings with clients went smoother. A few projects moved faster. Some employees who once ignored Raj now came to him privately. They asked for advice on how to phrase certain things, or how to avoid misunderstandings. They whispered to each other, maybe Raj knows more than we thought. Even Mr. Carter heard these whispers. At first he ignored them. But the rumors kept growing. Raj is smarter than he looks, some said quietly. It made Carter uncomfortable. He didn't like being outshined, especially by someone he had mocked. But Raj never bragged or drew attention to himself. He stayed calm, focused, and steady. Carter could feel the shift, and deep down, he knew this was just the beginning. A few days later, the team gathered again for a meeting. Mr. Carter was in a sharp mood. He had heard the whispers about Raj helping teams and earning quiet respect. He decided to remind everyone who was really in charge. When Raj spoke up to explain a project update, Carter seized the moment. Oh, careful, Raj. Carter said with a smirk. Let's not get lost in all those fancy words. Maybe you should speak English for once, plain and simple. Or do we need a translator? The room tensed. Some people chuckled nervously. But Raj didn't flinch. He looked at Carter calmly and said, "Actually, Mr. Carter, language isn't just about words, it's about meaning, context, and culture." He paused, then added softly, "For example, when you say plain English, it implies simplicity. But sometimes plain can feel dismissive. Choosing words carefully is part of effective communication." The room fell silent. Raj's words weren't a direct insult, but they made the point clearly. Carter's smirk faded. He wasn't used to being outwitted so smoothly. He opened his mouth to reply but found no quick comeback. The team noticed the shift. For once, Carter was speechless. Raj sat down quietly, a faint smile on his lips. No need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes the smartest moves were the quietest. A few days later, an email arrived from corporate headquarters. The executive board members were coming for a surprise visit. They wanted to see how things were running at Brightwave. The news sent a wave of nervous energy through the office. But no one was more nervous than Mr. Carter. He had been eyeing a promotion for months. This visit could make or break his chances. He spent the next few days rehearsing his speeches and practicing his charm. He planned to impress the board with his leadership and achievements. But on the day of the visit, things didn't go as Carter expected. The board walked in and with them, Raj. Everyone froze. Raj wasn't just a quiet employee anymore. He was Dr. Raj Banerjee, a linguistics PhD from Oxford University. The board introduced him proudly. "He has been specially hired by corporate to evaluate and improve our internal communication strategies," the lead executive announced. Carter's face turned pale. The room was silent, except for the board's voice. Raj stood calmly, his usual gentle smile in place. The tables had turned completely. Carter, who had mocked Raj's accent and belittled him, now faced the truth. Raj was not just an employee. He was a respected expert, and the board had chosen him to lead important changes. Carter's confidence wavered. For the first time he was unsure of his place in the company. The board started asking Raj questions about communication, client relations, and company culture. Raj answered with ease, sharing insights and ideas. Everyone listened. Carter realized the mockery, the jokes, the power plays. They meant nothing now. The man he had ridiculed was the very reason the company might succeed. Mr. Carter forced a laugh, trying to hide his shock. "Well, I guess this was all some kind of test," he said with a shaky smile. "You know, to see how resilient Raj is. Seems like he passed." The board members exchanged quiet looks, but Carter pressed on. "I meant no harm, just trying to keep things running smoothly." Raj spoke up calmly, his voice steady and clear. "Actually, Mr. Carter, I've prepared a detailed report on our company's communication culture. It includes specific examples, like how mocking accents creates a hostile environment and hurts teamwork." He handed the report to the lead executive. The room went silent. The board read the pages carefully. Carter's smile faded, as he realized this wasn't going away. One of the executives looked up and said firmly, "Mr. Carter, please step outside for a discussion." Carter stood, his face pale. Without another word, he left the room. The tension in the office was thick. Employees exchanged glances, some biting their lips to hold back smiles. Quietly, a few whispered, "About time." Others nodded, relieved that things might finally change. Word traveled fast through Brightwave. The boss who had mocked and bullied was finally being held accountable. Raj remained calm, but inside, he felt a quiet satisfaction. Not from revenge, but from knowing that respect was beginning to take root. The company had been given a chance to grow beyond fear and cruelty. And this was only the start. A week later the news came quietly, but clearly. Mr. Carter was removed from his position as regional manager. Corporate had decided that his leadership style no longer fit the company's values. The office breathed a collective sigh of relief. Raj was promoted to lead the new global communication training program. His role was clear now: help everyone speak, write, and connect better across cultures. Slowly but surely, Brightwave began to change. They introduced diversity and sensitivity training. Respect became more than just a word, it became a practice. People started listening to each other more carefully. Different accents, backgrounds, and ideas were no longer a reason to mock, but to learn from. Raj never boasted about what happened. He didn't seek revenge or spotlight. When asked about his journey, he simply smiled and said, "Words matter, how we use them can build bridges or walls." His quiet strength reminded everyone that talent often hides where we least expect it. And sometimes, the people who seem the most different are the ones who can teach us the most. This story is a reminder: never judge someone by how they speak, listen to what they have to say. Because respect changes everything. What would you have done in Raj's place? Have you ever been underestimated because of how you speak? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life.